Welcome back. You're watching Gravitas. More than 2,000 Bangladeshi terror operatives have infiltrated into India. The Bangladesh government has warned Indian authorities. WION's Bangladesh Bureau Chief Saad Hamadi sent us this report.
The Bangladesh government has warned India of an influx of terrorists through the borders of Assam, Tripura and West Bengal. Indian media reports put the number of Bangladeshi terrorists seeking shelter in India at more than 2,000, up from 659 in 2015. The Bangladeshi authorities, however, have not put this information in the public domain.
My first point would be that we really need to get an official reaction from the government of Bangladesh on what is the current state of play in this regard. The second issue that we need to see is that Bangladesh and India enjoy excellent cooperation in terms of border management and border control. We also know that there is real-time information sharing between the border management and other agencies of the two governments. So despite such an excellent cooperation mechanism that's already in existence, how could such infiltration possibly take place? That is a question that we need to ask.
The intrusion poses a serious security concern at a time when both Bangladesh and India's concerns over the possible role of the Islamic State have grown. The numbers signify security concern for both countries. Some say this development will also influence agreements Bangladesh and India sign during Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's visit to India next month. In Dhaka, this is Saad Hamadi for WION.
Joining us this evening is Shantanu Mukherjee. He's a South Asia security expert, also former intelligence officer. Good evening. Good to have you on the show, sir, Mr. Mukherjee. What do you make of this report that the Bangladesh government, interestingly, has shared with the Ministry of Home Affairs, but not spoken about domestically?
Well, I'm slightly, at the outset, I'm slightly intrigued by this. How could they arrive at a statistics that 2,000 have come?
Yeah.
How did they do the head count? And so precise, 2,000, and then sharing with the Indian authorities, the Home Ministry. Now, if 2,000 is the head count by the Bangladesh security officials, then they must be in the know that these 2,000 are missing. And why do they assume they are in India? Why not in Malaysia? Why not in Burma fighting Rohingyas or anywhere? So there is a gap there which needs to be answered. And 2,000 over 1 year, yes, it's a large number and it is a matter of concern. But we must arrive at the authenticity of the report, whether they have come here or not. What is the intelligence tip-off from them? And if they have crossed over to this side, it is incumbent upon the Indian authorities, particularly the states of West Bengal, which is bordering over 2,000 kilometers plus, then Assam, Meghalaya, etc., to gear up their intelligence machinery to find out where they have melted, particularly in West Bengal, because it has a history of terrorist links with Bangladesh not very long ago. In 2014, on 2nd of October to be precise, the Burdwan blasts there, and the links were traced up to Bangladesh.
So given the very pertinent questions that you've raised about this specific report, how worried should India be? What should our response be?
India cannot take it lightly, even if it is on assumption and all. It should alert its intelligence agencies, the border guards, that is the BSF, and all the intelligence this apparatus, wherever they are along the borders, to find out the list of the Bangladeshis, whether they are registered or not, where are they moving, and it is not difficult. Special branches of all these concerned states are expected to keep a tab on the Bangladeshis, and anybody unaccounted for must be taken to book.
Any thoughts on why the Bangladesh government would keep a report like this under wraps at home while send it to the Ministry of Home Affairs in India?
It is, I think, a display of to give a sense of cooperation ahead of Hasina's visit here in April, that look, we are cooperating, and I had given you this tip-off that 2,000 have come there to India, they have infiltrated, and they are in league with their counterparts in India. That is one thing I feel.
Sure. Let's dwell on West Bengal. You mentioned West Bengal has long been seen as India's soft underbelly through which illegal immigrants from Bangladesh have entered in their search for a better life. And now Islamist extremists are seeking sanctuary in India to escape the crackdown in Bangladesh. Let's bring up some numbers and facts for you. The Bangladesh intelligence has indicated that militants and terrorists are entering India, and they belong largely to three groups. These are the Jamaat-ul Mujahideen Bangladesh, the Ansarul Bangla and the Harkatul Jihad al-Islami. They cross over from Kumilla into Tripura or enter India's Barak Valley in Assam from the adjoining Sylhet region in Bangladesh. India's intelligence agencies now say that there is a flourishing trade in fake Indian passports and ration cards in the Bengali-dominated Barak Valley. And Mr. Mukherjee, I want to bring to your notice the response of state governments in India. While Bengal has questioned these numbers and figures, Assam has shown serious concern and raised the matter. Do you believe that domestic political compulsions often drive policy decisions and government decisions on issues as sensitive as terrorists and security?
Yes, of course. That's absolutely sure about it. Assam is, at the present, is being ruled by a particular government, which is against the Bangladeshi infiltration. Now, West Bengal, I'm not saying they are abetting or they are encouraging, but there is a huge electoral prospects there. And the chief minister there and the polity in Bengal would not like to lose the vote bank. So the ration cards and the passports or whatever identities are absolutely freely given, just to oblige them. And it is not new. It has been in the past also. We had seen the erstwhile Assam government in the time of Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, long back in the 60s and 70s. They were given, which gave rise to Ulfa agitation because they did not want the Bangladeshis. So infiltration has been from the beginning. But this time it is more alarming is because they have specifically pointed out that the terrorists belonging to JMB, Harkatul Jihad, etc. have come in. This is a question of raising a red flag.
Right. Saad Hamadi is also going to be joining us. I'm not sure if he's with us. Our WION Dhaka Bureau Chief who filed this report. Good evening, Saad. Mr. Mukherjee here has raised some very important questions. Where did this figure come from? How could the Bangladesh authorities do this head count that more than 2,000 have entered the Indian border? Can they account for these missing people? Do they know that X number of people are missing? What else have you found in this report?
Talked to a number of security analysts over here, as well as the law enforcement agencies. Now, none of them have been able to confirm this number.
Right, we'll try and reconnect with Saad Hamadi there. I'm told there's a network problem, but when it comes to these terror outfits operating out of Bangladesh, Bengal, it seems, is emerging as a widening chink in the Indian armour. Are those reports exaggerated, or is Bengal the focus area for India?
It may be slightly exaggerated, but it is not hard to dispel or reject altogether. Definitely, there are elements in Bengal because of the bordering areas. You just told about the fake currency and all. Malda is number one in that, in the border areas. So they must be harboring many who are coming there out of their affinity of various counts. So it is not surprising at all if they are there. And Bengal remains the main harborer of these terrorists or the non-terrorists who are trying to seek asylum in India for greener pastures.
For someone who's worked within intelligence agencies and know how sort of political expediency sometimes takes over a lot of decisions, do you believe that the fact that the state government and the centre sometimes aren't on the same page on a particular issue ends up being detrimental to the way we are dealing with the problem?
Well, frankly speaking, yes. My answer is affirmative. Because the state, and normally it is seen on practical terms, that the state government and central government, if they have the same political party in power, then they are on sync. They are on the same page. And the enforcement is easier. It is on an informal basis they are able to carry out or execute their decisions. But like the present case in Bengal, it's not necessary that the government of West Bengal would really cooperate with the central agencies, say IB, RAW or anybody, when they point out that he is a terrorist here, they might say, no, it is not. In the Bardhawan case, the blast, if you recall, of all persons, the senior most, this National Security Advisor of India had to convince Hasina and to tell the Bangladesh authorities that, look, you take it seriously. There are links existing. That's an unholy nexus. And then National Investigating Agency, India's NIA, it flew to Dhaka and held talks to sort it out. So initially, the cooperation from West Bengal was not forthcoming. The government was in denial mode because the center was different, political color, and the state was different.
Right. Let me bring up more figures here. Bangladesh officially also denies the presence of the Islamic State in that country, but it is widely accepted that the ideological footprint of the ISIS is visible, maybe pervasive. Islamic State attacks have been numerous in that country. In fact, Bangladesh has been carefully and constantly targeted. Foreigners, religious minorities such as Shias, Hindus and bloggers have been killed in that country. Mass killings have been avoided since Bangladesh is a majority Sunni country. Bangladesh is seen as a core audience because of its Sunni majority, and reports also suggest competition between Islamic State and Ansar-ul-Islam, an Al-Qaeda affiliate, in killings and assassinations. So there are many dimensions to the problem that we are discussing vis-a-vis Bangladesh, and some say that while terror infiltration into India is a serious concern, a lot of it may not be in Bangladesh government's control.
Well, it's Bangladesh government does not have a complete control over the terrorists, as we see the pattern emerging from July 1 last year, when the cafe attack, the hostages and all. There's definitely an ISIS footprint there. And Bangladesh has been denying, labeling it as an ISIS-sponsored thing. And they always allude it to the homegrown terrorists. That is not to be seen in the international domain, to be harboring ISIS. That ISIS has made its forays into Bangladesh. It's a homegrown. But that is of academic interest only. The fact is the terrorists are there in different nomenclatures, and they continue to strike at will, whether it is Cafe, that was on 1st of July, and 6 days later at the Eid congregation in Kishoreganj, they again struck. And very recently on the 17th also, they had the audacity to reach their paramilitary elite headquarters, that is the Rapid Action Battalion, RAB, and the suicide bomber blew himself. And then there are also women cadres joining this. So there is a total commitment. There is a trend of the youngsters joining. Radicalization is supreme, absolutely. It is all pervasive. You see, in that cafe and the other attacks that ensued, you find they were all educated in the elitist schools of Dhaka, the best of education. And their parents were occupying key positions in the government and in the private sector. Yet they did not know who all went to Syria and Iraq, got indoctrinated and came back and enforced this hostage-taking and killing.
Right.
So it's a grim situation.
That's something that many have raised. The elite youth also, joining this cause, as they call it. Saad Hamadi, I'm told, is back with us. Saad, you were telling us about the details of this report, and I also want to ask you, is this going to come up in Sheikh Hasina's meeting with the Indian government next month?
Absolutely, Palki. Well, the number that has been put in the media about 2010 extremists who have gone into India, checked with a number of security analysts as well as law enforcers in the country and the government authorities, and none of them have confirmed to me with this number, and they're not sure where this number was derived from. But they do mention that there is a concern that there are extremists moving out of the country, going inside India. And that has been a concern not just for Bangladesh, but also India and within the region. And that will prompt and influence agreements that are to be signed between Bangladesh and India during Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's visit, of course. But there is the authenticity, as Mr. Mukherjee has also mentioned, the authenticity of this report as well as these numbers needs to be verified, because this looks like a threefold increase in the number of extremists who have entered India in the last few years.
Right. Finally, Mr. Mukherjee, I want to ask you this. Do you believe that the government of India and the agencies are doing enough to contain this threat, A, and B, what is it that should specifically be on the agenda in terms of demands from the Bangladeshi Prime Minister in the first week of April?
Indian intelligence agencies should share hard-time intelligence with Bangladeshis, and their demand should be that Bangladesh should reciprocate. If we say that such and such terrorists are hiding in Dhaka, Kumilla or Mymensingh, Bangladesh government should take action irrespective of its political affiliations or anything. Though we have not, it has not come to notice that they had been sheltering those or sparing those, certainly not. So there is this very intimate intelligence cooperation between the two countries, and if possible, I'll go a step further. In view of the recent attacks in the last week, a team belonging to the intelligence agencies 3-4 from India should go there and camp in Dhaka, and they study on ground the reality of the situation, and then so when Hasina comes here, the Prime Minister, then it should be brought to her notice that, look, this is this, you gear up your anti-terror architecture, they should be more effective, your intelligence machinery. Very recently there had been a change of their intelligence chief. There was an old hand, he was removed. I don't know why, because of the political considerations. The new man seemed to be struggling and grappling to come to terms to handle this. And to hold their hand in a firm manner, that is where India's role comes. And it should, being more experienced in handling terror attacks and more repository of intelligence there, India should play a more proactive role to help Bangladesh.
Right, we'll see how it plays out, of course. Pleasure to have you in the studio,
Thank
Mr. Shantanu Mukherjee. Saad Hamadi, thanks very much for joining us from Dhaka. And before we leave,